Hello there, everybody. Welcome back. Very, very welcome back. A year in the return to Slay the Spire Draft Champions with my boy Rhapsody. Rhapsody, how are you on this beautiful reunion?
Extremely good on this beautiful reunion. I've had my spirits buoyed by something.
That's honestly, it's a hell of a sentence. I can't deny. I missed the Rhapsody. You used to give the best metaphors for how your day was going, explanations and beautiful wording of the past what used to be 7 days. Give me before we start, if you could use one singular word. And in fact, I'm gonna actually force you to use a noun. One singular noun to explain how your past year and a month, since it's about that since we recorded the last episode, how your last year and a month has been. What noun would you use? And I have mine that I think you will say. So I'll check with you in a second.
Ooh, okay. Oh. This is difficult. A single noun.
A single noun. I figured adjective was a little too easy.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Good lord. I'm gonna say discovery.
Ooh. Okay. I mean, that's actually a genuinely good one. I thought you were gonna say rhinoceros, so I was way off. But
it's true. Just
great.
before we got on cam, I was telling Alexa a series of stories that happened to me at the hands of a rhinoceros. The hands, the paws, feet, hooves,
and maybe claws. Do they have claws?
Claws? I don't know. If you're a
It's kinda like
rhinoceros,
the horn
please
is a
in the
claw.
comment section down below, tell us what you got at the end of your old limbs.
Yeah. What you got hanging there? that's a strange way to word it. But,
Tell us what dangles.
yeah. Tell us what do dongle when you swaggy, and we'll move from there anyway.
I still haven't gotten over the word dongle. I still can't use
Dude,
it.
It's an out of this world word.
You have to use it professionally, right? Like,
it happens. Yeah. And it's like, here's the issue. I don't want to officially like bring in the ageism into this video, but like dongle's a super boomer term, man. Like there ain't no youngins saying yo pass the dongle.
what are they using?
Well, it's like, if you have a USB that you're passing around to install a software or something, then, but this happens all the time in the security field, right? We get a random USB that we find on the street, and we're like, hey, maybe there's some good software on this, and we start installing it onto all the corporate machines. Yeah. And it's, hey, pass the dongle, and it's normally a 50-year-old middle-aged white man with his hair is balding, and he it's a scruffy voice because he just downed like a liter of whiskey, and he's like, pass me the dongle. And then Hulk Hogan's mustache grows out of his forehead, and then
Hulk Hogan's mustache itself.
Yeah. Anyway, we have digressed way too far. Immediately, it's Slay the Spire Draft Champions. It's a game where we each draft 15 cards from a grid of 30 right here. That might be the first time that's ever actually worked on the first try. We're also going to then pick a character, which is going to be the card at the very bottom of this stack. Oops, it's the defect today.
Oh, boy.
Spicy. We'll just put these... we'll put them down here in the bottom right where it's going to be out of camera if you're also capturing the screen the way I am. And we're going to draft 15 cards apiece and then also take 2 relics apiece. And then we're going to go into a game and see who gets the best score on Ascension 0. It's just that easy.
It's just that easy.
Anyway,
You want to flip that coin for me? Because I know I'm asking for a tails.
I know you're asking for a tails, and I'm over prepared and excited to flip this coin. On your marks, get set. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's actually tails this time. Would you like to go first, or would you like the next two?
I would like the next two, please.
Okay. Okay. Dude, I'm gonna tell you right now. It's been it's been a long time since I've recorded Slay the Spire for YouTube. But you would be really happy to know that I took up a routine over this past year that was at night, starting at like 9:30-ish. You know, I'm done with work. I'm done with recording for the day. My ass was laying on the couch. I would either have, you know, some barbecue chips of some kind. Maybe I've been just eating like bland saltine crackers as a snack because I'm a 80-year-old man.
Okay.
Occasionally a small glass of bourbon on my side just to wind down over the night. But then it was take out the laptop, prop it up, slay the spire. Your boy has actually made it to Ascension 20 as the Ironclad in Slay the Spire. Something that I never thought that I would actually end up getting to. So you might be in trouble today, because I have actually gotten significantly better at Slay the Spire, and immediately I realized I should not have said that, so that when I die on the first floor on an Ascension 0 run, the comment section doesn't rail me. But anyway.
No, I think this might set us up, because I think you will also be quite glad to hear that I haven't published much Slay the Spire recently, and I haven't played much Slay the Spire recently, possibly even over the course of the entire last year.
Wow. Okay, so we're going in with an interesting dynamic here.
We definitely are. You're taking Defragment there as the first one. I will also mention for the audience, we have no card rewards in the game. We're not going to be able to pick up card rewards after fights, so it is going to make it difficult for us to get additional strategies into the deck.
Yes. I had to remember, because obviously when you're playing Ascension grinding, you don't really care about score unless you're good at the game.
Yes.
And then you're like, I just want to get a high score. For me, it's like, I just want to see the number go up. And if the number increases by 1, you know, number plus, semicolon, then I'm happy.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
especially considering the fact that, like, you know, the scoring metrics are quite arbitrary, right? There are really impressive things you can do that the game will never give you any commendation for. So it is more a marking set for how well you adhere to the game's rules, and if you don't really care about them, you don't need to. Yep. I don't care about the score at all.
Yeah. Yeah, which is why you're taking Adrenaline Burst, which is probably, like, objectively the best choice you could make on the board right now. And to explain my line of thinking, I'm just gonna do my best to not take any of these gold cards, and I'm gonna try to get that poor man no gold card extra bonus.
Yeah, go Pauper for an extra 50, I think, on Pauper.
Yeah, something crazy like that. Which I'm now realizing 50 is actually not that crazy, but
it might be 100. Don't.
If it's 100, that's kind of crazy. There's a couple of just real garbage cards.
Yes.
yeah, I'm realizing that. And we're the defect, and there is one singular orb card in the entire.
Yeah, I'll admit I was a little bit perplexed by your Defragment first pick.
Yeah, I'm realizing now that it might not come back to do any value to me, but I'm hoping, you know, we can buy cards in shops, so I'm hoping that that first shop brings me to the moon.
I hope so for you as well.
Yeah.
I apologize about taking a while here, but
dude,
honestly,
absolutely no sweat.
It's about finding your damage, right? What's your source of damage? How are you going to get through?
Well, right now it's Zap producing me. Actually, Zap won't be in the deck because actually my source of damage is Alt F4 in the game since I don't have any.
Oh, you got the cracked core. You'll have an orb.
That's true. So it's four 4 damage on that orb per turn forever, and then I'll see you around next Oleximus when my run ends.
Gosh, so I think I just have to pick purely by power level here, which I think is unfortunate for you.
I don't mind, actually. I wasn't
Okay.
really planning on taking it, so
Cool.
I need that reinforced body, because if I'm going to have 4 damage a turn, I have to have the block to survive the other turns.
Understandable, acknowledgeable,
Yeah.
interesting, powerful.
Interesting, but yeah.
I'm gonna take a big stab.
Okay. I respect it, to be honest. I respect it.
I appreciate that.
Gonna roll in with a little headbutt. Got some big plans for that headbutt.
Yeah, I can't judge that. That is, get your blur back on top of your deck, hold it for another turn.
Yep.
It's good. It's
gonna be so damn blurred. It's like I set my blur button in Photoshop to be large.
Nice.
The joke found itself way too
Absolutely
late.
burned him.
Destroyed. Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna take a Shroog.
Yeah, that was my next.
Yeah.
That was my next. Good card, good card, good card. Sweeping Beam. I still feel like I don't actually... It's like I have the playing the cards part, right? In Slay the Spire now, but it's the actual like building the deck part where I'm like, yeah, no, I'm still pretty trash at this.
Well, I mean, it fundamentally
we'll
tests
see.
a different skill to one that you actually test in game, right?
It's true. Yeah, no, it's very true.
And both of us have significantly less practice at this. Good Lord in heaven. It's my man.
It's a lot of garbage.
It's just ironclad attacks. Like, that's all the damage.
Yeah. But when we get that one singular inflame in a shop, it's gonna be okay.
Pop a rebound into my deck, I guess.
Okay, yeah. They're all still really bad, Rhapsody. I keep on waiting for one to get better, but they're still all really bad.
Yeah.
Sure. It could be anything. It could even be Infernal Blade.
I'm gonna take Intimidate.
Okay. I respect that one. I was planning on it eventually. Little ghostly boy.
That was gonna be my next.
Yeah. You don't have a lot of block.
You aren't incorrect.
So I'm waiting for you to take the only... Well, okay, that's actually false. But I'm waiting for you to take the 2 only block cards left. And I would be pleased to watch them go.
I understand that. I understand that about you. I've always appreciated that about you. I've said it since the dawn of time.
Yep. Sometimes you just message me out of the blue. You're like, I can't wait for you to watch me take these 2 block cards. And I go, yes, Rhapsody, yes, 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 very yes. So much yes.
That's a direct quotation.
Yeah.
I'm amazed you remembered it.
Yeah, that was April 15th, 2021.
Absolute eidetic memory as well. Do you know what time it was? In ET, please.
16 o'clock 04.
He's damn right, isn't he?
Sorry, that's EST, not EDT. Okay, there's one off the board.
There you go.
I am trying to calculate in my head who's going to have to take Catalyst and Multicast. Not really looking forward to taking one of those, but the math checks out that when only 2 people draft cards, one of us will have to take one of those cards.
I've run the numbers.
Yeah.
I'm coming up with the same. You know what? Let's get wild.
Okay, little wild strike.
Hmm.
I really really enjoyed your accent saying wild like that.
Wild.
Wow, wild. It's like you're trying to say around the world, but like with a bad American accent. Around the
Yeah.
wild.
I like corruptions like that work. There's one that that Jimmy Carr had a really long time ago, which is saying beer can makes you sound like you're trying to say bacon in a Jamaican accent. Beer can,
It
beer
it
can, beer can.
that it is good. It is really good. I do like that.
Whose is it now?
Your card or mine?
I
I
took
have
a
no
pummel
idea.
at some point. You got 12 over
I've
there.
got 12.
I've got 13.
You got
so
13.
stands
so I have
to
to
reason.
take a card, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Damn. All right, sure. All right, sure. Don't like that one tiny bit. Guess 75 gold of this round will go towards removal of a multicast.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I picked card first, so you pick relic first. Have at ye.
I think
Some funky choices here.
there are some funky choices. I'm gonna take the sundial.
Genuinely, when you moved your mouse, I thought you were taking the abacus, and I was like, clearly I know nothing about this game. Okay. You've made this harder on me. I'm gonna be honest.
Have I?
Yeah.
I left 2 things on board you want?
There's 3 things that I want, and I expected you to take one of them. So that's making me, to put it bluntly, it's making me a little sad.
I apologize. I'll try better next
your
time.
Apology just this once. Damn. This is a toughie. I think I am going to opt for this.
Hey Alexa.
Yeah. I clearly know nothing about the game. But that's okay. In all seriousness, look, I look at you. Okay, let me rephrase that. I look at Jorbs as the Slay the Spire master. I look at you as the Slay the Spire master that I know.
I look at you as also
a Slay the Spire master, but I mean, he's just on another level.
I hear you. My man got so many heart kills. Like, I don't think he has a loss right now. Is doing a month of it.
It's absurd. It's absurd. But looking at my deck, okay.
Yeah.
What would you take out of these 3?
Oh, I thought we I thought we trashed 4 at the end. We could
do, which is what's messing me up.
Oh,
because I want all 3, and I don't know which 2 you would have taken, and I trust your opinion more than I trust my brain.
So which 2 would I have taken? Where are you? Well, I think you're right. The vulnerability is unlikely to be something that we find. You know, you're probably only really likely to find it through Trip, basically, at this point. Also not likely to find a large amount of discard synergy, so Tincture's out. I think there's a reasonable argument to be made for potions. We get no card rewards, but we still do find potions. Potions are really important for getting through certain battles and trying to make sure that you don't take any damage in them.
I agree with that.
Huge modification positive. I will say, you've got infinite blades, so you are getting some little value. Also, the sword boomerang, a little bit of value more out of the boot here. Still not particularly large. I guess Barrage is getting a little value out of it as well, but the thing is, as soon as you upgrade the Barrage, or as soon as you upgrade the Barrage, I guess, or get any strength, it's no longer really doing anything. The problem is also the density of your deck's defense is quite low, even though you have the blur, even though you have the reinforced body, and even though you have the headbutt to be able to put the blur back atop the deck. All the reinforced body, as the case may call for. You're probably going to find it difficult to find it yourself consistently in turn 7 for your finisher from the old stone calendar there. It's possible that you just rely on the stone calendar as being a 52 to help you close for a boss fight. In which case, I would probably have taken those two.
Okay. And you basically hit the nail on the head for me. I mean, that's what I was fighting with, because I was like, you got some invincibility, or close to invincibility, that then I can carry over a bunch of block, possibly stack up some blurs with the headbutt. Effectively, this card will be gone. This card I'll play at some point just to exhaust it. This card will not be in the deck, in the round kind of thing, so it's a little thinned down. I can maybe, hold out on the block till round 52, do a little bit of extra damage kind of thing. But, yeah, okay. That was a good thought experiment.
Can I talk you through, or can I ask what you think I'm going to be doing with my deck, or can I talk you through it? I'm either.
I would love for you to talk me through it, because I understand the sundial pick for sure. It makes perfect sense to me. Abacus, I'm a little stunned, and it could very well be that I actually just don't remember what it does.
So I was about to first pick Abacus. Sundial triggers every 3. This is not for you. This is for everyone. Every 3 shuffles of your deck, you get 2 energy back. And the Abacus is every time you shuffle your deck, you get 6 block. And especially with Burst Adrenaline giving me the ability to draw 4 cards at a time, Shrug is draw 1, Pommel upgrades to draw 2. I've got Exhaust cards in the Backstab and the Adrenaline and the Intimidate. The Afterimage cycles itself out of the deck. There's the Pommel as well that cycles itself out. The deck gets relatively thin and has the ability to cycle itself, ideally, with a couple of removals here, multiple times a turn. So I'm getting just 12 block casually while I'm trying to deal damage. And also using that as a energy generation engine. Honestly, it looks like the damage is mainly coming out of Phantasmal Killer paired with some sort of the damage source here. I'm probably going to try and substitute the damage source for something else. Or find some strength to modify it in some way. It's going to be difficult, but that's generally the direction it's going.
That's intriguing. And I think I just didn't know what Abacus did. So that now makes a lot more sense, because it literally pairs exactly into the other relic that you chose.
Yeah.
Dude, this is interesting. I'm excited to see how, honestly, both of the runs go, because we each have a genuine vision going in. So that it should be good.
I'm damn keen. You wanna get to it and see?
Yeah, you know what? Let's actually play the game. We'll see you momentarily.
Adios.
Bada bing, a bada boom. Mr. Worldwide, as we step in the room, welcome back to the game, Raps. We made it.
Glad to be here, Pitbull.
Let's go. We made it.
Let's go.
No difficulties. We clicked the mouse properly. We hit the arrow keys correctly, and we're in.
Which of these paths ought I pursue?
Probably, if I know you best, it will be the one that contains the most elite battles.
I have no clue what you're talking about, and I confirm neither confirm nor deny that.
And there's only 2, man. It's a boring ass elite floor. What the heck?
Yeah, it's not particularly chunky on that value for us, certainly.
No. There's no chunky value, which I apparently never wanted to hear anybody say ever, but here we are.
I'm glad to have brought it into your life.
I appreciate it. Okay, well, enough Slay the Spire talk.
We've done our duty.
we've done our due diligence. We're good now. Let's talk spicy opinions. I'm gonna actually start with one that is a bit of a throwback to a previous conversation that you and I have had. It's around that time of year again. I need in under a minute. So I'm gonna wait until it turns to 12 on the dot here in a second. But then you have 1 minute to explain to me, and I'll pause during the minute so we don't lose our track. You have 1 minute to explain to me why turkey is a bad meat, and then we're gonna move from there.
Okay.
But I'm gonna wait for the minute to there go.
You'll find I intend to spend the vast majority of this minute, right up until the final seconds, waiting. I feel you've given me 1 whole minute. What you're doing here is you are presenting the idea that there is, by necessity, a minute's worth of justification for the abomination of turkey that needs to be provided to counter its value. What I'm saying is that, how long have we got left?
Probably like 30 seconds.
Probably about 30 seconds. What I'm saying is that the presupposition that it would take so long for me to debunk turkey is itself part of the turkey propaganda that I feel like you spread into the world. In my concluding 5-10 seconds, however, I would like to circle back to a point that I had previously mentioned.
You got 10 seconds to wrap it up.
That ultimately, out of all of the meat stuffs I could enjoy, turkey is the driest and least flavorful. I cede my time.
Thank you. I'm gonna honestly, we're just gonna leave it at that. I kind of expected you to just go random thoughts for the minute, and then in the last 3 seconds just go it dry low. But
yeah, I mean that was my initial instinct, certainly.
Yeah.
And I don't think I really sublimated that instinct as much. You know, like I basically did that, except I vamped instead about the idea I might do that.
Yeah. That was nice though. I appreciate it.
It's the sycophantism of it to me. I don't understand. What is your allegiance? Do you have a stake in Big Turkey?
I mean, look, I don't like to talk about the stock options that I partake in on camera. It's 2 things. First is Uniswap coin. Second is Big Turkey. So yes, I do have some stock in Big Turkey. But you know, look, sometimes in life you just gotta stick with some traditions, and here in the States, although I'm gonna be real, man, I think since we last talked, I think that the whole Thanksgiving is turkey thing, which I know you guys don't have an American Thanksgiving. You do something similar, but I cannot remember off the top of my head at the current moment.
Not particularly. We don't even really have like a Canadian Thanksgiving kind of like equivalent kind of thing. Instead we just have like, you know, national holidays that are more akin to your like 4th of July and things like that.
Gotcha. Do you by any chance do a Mexican Thanksgiving?
No.
Nicaraguan Thanksgiving?
I'll have to check, but not lately, is my understanding.
Honduran?
Oh, absolutely.
Thanksgiving. Okay.
Beyond question.
Jamaican? My Thanksgiving crazy?
I did attempt to once, and there were no survivors.
Okay. I got 2 final ones. The Bolivian Thanksgiving?
I mean, of course, but you know, I mostly from a distance.
We all do it. Just we kind of hush about it.
Yeah.
And then the final is the Peruvian Thanksgiving.
It's where it all began.
It really is. When the Peruvians came into the States to do
when they landed on
Peruvians
Peruvian
did.
rock.
Yes, that's what they call it these days. Yeah, they
actually
killed the turkeys, so I that's why I like turkey at the end.
Sorry, just in that same kind of zone, just a fact that'll blow your mind that I didn't even know, despite the fact that it's a kind of like Australian niche trivia kind of thing. When the colonizers of Australia asked the indigenous peoples what that animal was, pointing at your big haunched rodent, effectively, the kangaroo, they obviously got the response kangaroo. Which it took quite a while afterwards to understand, actually meant, I do not understand what you mean.
That is actually brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy. It's the favorite fact that I've learned of late.
I mean, that's a banger fact. I can't deny. Like, it's a genuinely good one. There's really, dude, I am so bad at this. But there's an above 50% chance that I'm dead on the first floor, just so you know.
Dude, it's okay. I will I'll die and we can swap over to Fortnite.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's good reference. But no, I mean that's actually completely brilliant. I was actually about to ask probably what could end up being the stupidest question of all time, which was when you said that when the colonists came and met with the indigenous people of Australia, in my brain, I'm gonna just be perfectly blunt with you. My cerebral cortex went, well, how the heck the indigenous people get there is an island. And I was like, yeah, apparently like years of all of those science classes just went right out the window.
I mean, like, we can use this to talk about the development of Gondwanaland from Pangaea. We can talk about the fact that there was migration down from the area that was more contiguous with Papua New Guinea, and then that apparently land connections broke near the top of Australia, and marooned tribes in Australia, which then flourished, varyingly.
Yeah, but why would we, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Instead, like, lol, Alexa, my man, what up?
Yeah.
Huh?
Lol, don't know how tectonic plates work. Lol.
This guy's not even a geologist.
He don't even know geology. That's good. That's good stuff. Anyway, I'm alive and well on this run. Because
Dude,
I forgot one of the core things when it comes to Slay the Spire Draft Champions is if I don't at all times go, oops, I'm dead, and then come out alive, then it's really not the series.
It's not an episode. It just wouldn't have counted.
Yeah.
We may have had to start again.
Yeah. I also have made an orb build work in a way that you probably would never comprehend one to work.
Mm-hmm.
I also just got 2 card upgrades, and they hit setup and catalyst. So that is just.
You are absolutely set up. You are ready.
Yeah, I'm set up already. Set up to scream at a later date. Raps, I got a deep and invigorating question to ask you.
I couldn't be ready for more of one.
But I'm going to actually leave it for a future part of this video. I want to talk about a game that you and I both played this year that we have not had a singular discussion about. And that game
is Inscryption.
Is Inscryption. It is Inscryption. I forgot the name of it for a second, so thank you.
I'll get you across the line there. Sacrifices must be made if you want to go for the older version, which also houses some of the ARG content for the upgraded version. Yeah.
Spicy. Yeah. Inscryption. How did you enjoy the game formerly known as Inscryption?
Deeply, wildly, vigorously.
Yeah.
The metaphor would contend that I would need a cigarette afterwards if we'll extend it to that point. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's also like, you know, it's one of those few situations where I saw something so far on the horizon. Like, it was literally, as I mentioned at the top of my first episode, I think, like, it was literally just a web page that said, like, hey, like, the web page had no design on it. It was just like, this is going to be a roguelike and made by Daniel Mullins. Here is a mailing list if you want to join it. So it wasn't even picked up by Devolver at that point. Like, it didn't have a publisher. And called it from the outset, like, I know I'm going to be deeply interested in this, and damned if it didn't live up to and then beyond. How was it for you? I understand, like, because I also know that I went into it with a set of experiences and understandings that, you know, I knew it was going to be a, you know, deck builder. I knew it was going to have a lot of card elements. I also knew a lot about Daniel Mullins and his previous work, so I tended to understand the form the game might take, which I feel took some people by surprise and some people didn't necessarily enjoy as much.
Yeah. So I'll just straight up start out by saying, I loved it.
Yeah.
It, like, in all seriousness, I had a few games that were, you know, we'll call them chilling near the top, having a tea party when it to possible games of the year for me, right? It's like, you know, obviously the Binding of Isaac Repentance release was up there, although it was never really in contention, because there were just some issues that I had with it. The side-scrolling platformer, 2D platformer roguelike Revita is right up there at the top. Believe it or not, the one that people always go, really? That was in your game of the year? Mini Motorways is like crazy high for me. That game slapped so hard, it's unreal. But then I played like an hour and a half of Inscryption, and I was like, oh, that's cool. This one won game of the year.
Yeah.
It blew away all other games. There was no part of me that ever disliked it during the game.
Yeah.
And I'm both surprised and not surprised about your opinion of it.
Oh, what about it surprises you to begin with?
Yeah, so here's what I will say. I mean, let me back all the way, right? Going into it, I did not play the demo. Going into it.
Yes.
I knew pretty much nothing about the game, if I'm being honest. The only thing that I knew was it's a deck building roguelike, and that's it. And I mean, to be fair, that's normally enough for me to, you know, like go outside and praise the sun god or something like that.
Yeah.
So going into it, like, I was doing the first act, and, you know, I knew there had to be an ending, but I kind of expected, you know, ending and then, you know, we vibe in the ending, and then I do it, you know, repeatedly 450 more times until I have so many episodes that people beg me to play more Isaac and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
When
it
exactly. When I reached the second act, and I will say that I was, you know, people obviously spoiled a bit of the second act for me just because it's impossible to kind of not as a content creator with a game like that. You know, when you're behind the 8 ball of other content creators playing it, but then also just in general, in a position where you're progressing in the game at a pace where people are like, you gotta move faster kind of thing. Because I had where, like, I was getting some of the things like where all of the bears drop down and attack you in the one thing. I got that. So I was moving too fast then. But then I had a couple of losses in a row. So I was forced into where people were like, come on, you're like, it's time to go, gotta get through, gotta finish the game, like, get to it kind of thing. So I kind of had all ends of the spectrum on Act 1. And then I got to Act 2, and my mind was completely blown.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's so many possibilities, there's so many options. And then Act 3 was like the cool, calm smoothie at the end of the, coffee date to kind of wrap up the conclusion. And I don't really think there was an Act 4 to the game. I know there's some people that claim there is. For me, the end of the game finished in about 30 minutes, so it wasn't really that, I don't really consider it an Act 4. But I want to get your opinion before I suppose it kind of goes hand in hand with this. My community was not split, per se. I think the majority of people enjoyed the game a lot as a game. But there were some people that were kind of like, don't really understand the hype. The game is really just quite gimmicky at its core. And there's not really a, redeeming, cohesive nature to it that drives me to want to play it. Like, there's no, some of the fights are a little bit weird, and if you draw bad, you lose. Things like, hiding the clover by the docks in Act 2 that allows you to redraw. Because I ran into, so I don't know who you chose because I remain spoiler free. Because I was very tempted several times to watch your videos because your titles were fantastic for it.
I appreciate that, man.
they were so good. But I did a Grimoire deck.
Yes.
No reason whatsoever. I don't know why I did, but I did.
I happened to choose PO3, Poe.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me, I also had this layer where, like, so we will be talking, in a little more specific about spoilery kinds of things with relation to Inscryption. So if you do not want to be spoiled on that, I will mention, go watch one of the series on it. There are so many of them on every channel. Someone's done it.
Yes. Very
But to get into a more spoilery area, the thing that I ran into is because I selected Poe, and it also canon wanted you to fight Poe at the end of Act 2, I had the reason still to believe, oh, if I pick a different deck, I'm going to go into a different meta world after this. I'm coming back here, and then I'm going to go to Grimoire and things like that, right? But that was hampered for me by the fact that I knew the general arc of a Daniel Mullins game, and I knew that, as exciting as I was, or as much as I was enjoying the mechanics that I was interacting with at the time, they are not built fundamentally for durability. You become significantly more powerful in the game quite quickly. There are quite a lot of ways to invalidate the game. There's quite a lot of ways the game can just invalidate you right back. But the thing is, these kinds of things work narratively for the strength of the game. And it tries to funnel you by giving you more power as you lose more runs and things like this, to progress the story by giving you more power so that you will succeed the run so that you can go on to Act 2. I think a lot of the responses that people have talking about it being gimmicky are people who came in with the expectation, which the game admittedly wants to give you because it wants to then shock you out of it, that it is going to be a deck builder roguelike, that is going to be something that you sit down with that has a robust set of mechanics, right? If you talk about gimmick, the idea is that something is surface level, that it isn't deep enough, right? Otherwise, it's just an aesthetic, right? So what is a gimmick? It's the fragile veneer of something. And yeah, that is going to be provided here because it is not trying to do the thing that people necessarily thought it was going to be trying to do. I think it's in that place where if you want to maintain the surprise of the same experience that you had of like, this is a card game, I'm enjoying it, I'm getting up near the end, okay, I've killed the wait, what? If you want to maintain that experience for new players, then you have to allow for the fact that the game is going to have to kind of trick people. And some people are going to come into it with the expectation for something that the game is not planning on providing. And that's the kind of thing that I was meaning when I was talking about the fact that I came in with the expectation of knowing Daniel Mullins' games prior. I knew, like, okay, so we're going to get, like, halfway through a normal game, and then it's going to change. I said in my first episode, like, the thing that I love about Daniel Mullins' games is that they change the scope over the course of the game. They are fundamentally about changing scope. They zoom out. And that is exactly what Inscryption did the whole time. It was just like, this level, zoom out. This level, zoom out. Like, you thought it was a card game? No, it's an escape room. You thought it was an escape room? No, it's actually a video game. You thought it was a video game? Actually, it's a torture simulator.
Yeah.
Sorry to talk your ear off. I've not had the ability to talk to anyone about Inscryption for a really long period of time.
Dude, I mean, I'm with you, and I pretty much wholeheartedly agree with you on everything you just said. And I had the exact same kind of. You know, I'm not gonna say the exact same experience because I think that's not the right wording that I want to use because I never played a Daniel Mullins game. Kind of didn't know anything going in about what to expect from it. So I kind of was lulled into that false sense of security that this was just a escape room of sorts built into a deck builder roguelite. And I even talked about in one of my first episodes of it, I was like, I appreciate this game for what it's doing. It's really unique, really interesting. But I said, I really worry that there is going to reach a point during this game where these escape room mechanics are going to run out. And I hope that they have something, kind of planned to keep that part of the game fresh instead of it just feeling like it was an odd gimmick that they threw in to not really, super, even matter for the rest of the game. Now, of course, in the end, I feel they've done it pretty brilliantly. And, I think that pretty much every part of that game was a beautiful experience, and I have zero regrets whatsoever playing it. And I patiently hope that they are putting out a roguelite mode for it, which is something that they've definitely teased. But yeah, oh dude, you actually end up with Vajra on this run. That is sick.
Oh, hell yeah. It's gonna be big.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean that's about all I got. It was just.
Could you tell me what shape these rumors have taken? Because you've mentioned this before as well, and I will say, just to give you the context that I'm bringing to this, I don't know if that will work.
So, I mean, all that I have kind of heard and seen is that they have talked about, hey, we know everybody really likes Act 1 especially, and they said that they have big stuff on the horizons for a additional update to the game. That's what I've heard. I also know the game has a extremely robust modding community already, something that is, in my opinion, genuinely surprising, because a game in my opinion, it's still in its extreme infancy. I mean, the game's only been out for 2 months, 3 months. But to have a community ready to mod it, and there's been some, honestly, incredible mods that have been made for it that I've seen. I do wonder if, as a dev, I'm sure you're aware of stuff like that. People aren't going to sit quietly and not, send the mods to the devs and be like, hey, look what I did to your game, kind of thing. So I wonder if they see, things that people want to see in the game, and then they go, you know what, maybe the people are right with this. But it's also, it's a difficult balance between keeping their cohesive story they've created, and there's a part of me where I agree. I'm like, maybe the game is best played as a one-time experience that you do once, and their story is their story, and then you play other deck building roguelikes that exist because there's like 800,000 of them. And maybe this one doesn't need a long roguelike mode, but then I'm like, it's also one of the most fascinating combat styles in a deck builder game that I've ever played, so I want more. And so I don't know. It's difficult.
So, I'll tell you the combat, like. So I watched some of Teek's playthrough after I'd finished my own, and Teek, this is Sneaky Teek. I work with him on Ladder Streak for anyone who's unfamiliar. Teek managed to succeed past all of the points where the game was trying to kill the player intentionally and prevent you from progressing.
Yeah.
And because of that, he just never managed to hit one of the triggers that would then, like, he never saw the camera. He just kept beating Leshy. And that has an effect where obviously he'd played the game for quite a long time and had a lot of familiarity with the mechanics and the ability to cheat the enemy in the way that the enemy might cheat you, and was coming away with it starting to think less of the game because the mechanical experience was starting to grate on him, and he was wondering, what am I doing wrong? And what he was doing wrong was doing the game too good. You were too clever. Well done. And I do worry, like, if it becomes that same kind of position of if it becomes that same position of getting frustrated with the mechanics of the game over repetition, I would be hesitant. But at the same rate, if Daniel Mullins is now saying, like, hey, I think this is actually something we can work with, and I agree, maybe the original design was not for that. I don't think the original design was for that, but maybe he's reevaluated and can see some growth in that direction. I share a tentative optimism for it. I will say, professionally, I would love if that would happen. Inscryption is the best series I've done over the last however long. It would be incredible for me if it occurred. So my hesitance is exclusively based on the artistic value of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I agree. And that's what I think a lot of people... I think it's something that people don't understand very well these days. And I don't know if that's just like, you know, Boomer Tyler comes in and he's like, you know, kids these days don't appreciate fine art. But there's a lot of things in life that are kind of similar, right? Where you don't stop to smell the roses. You instead just want the satisfaction of whatever the thing is that you're doing, and then you move on. You know, it's like, I don't know. I really can't think of an argument that isn't sexual.
Well, no, like it's like a meal, right? Like it's an experiential thing rather than something that you consistently revisit, right? We could think about it like in terms of properties and consumables, effectively, if you'd prefer.
Yeah, you know what? I think the fine dining experience is the perfect example here, because that's more or less exactly what I'm thinking. You know, it's the idea of people who go, why would I pay $45 for this steak when I can buy a steak at the grocery store for $15, cook it, and possibly have as good a meal, if not better, than the one that I'm paying for inside of this fancy restaurant on the top of the, you know, tallest building in Chicago, where somebody is also, you know, giving me a wine tasting while I eat my steak, and I'm swirling it in the cup and going, yes, grapey and very viney, and like, why would I do that? And
we all do it.
The answer is because it's an experience, and you do it. So yeah, I mean, that's a great argument.
I gotta say, like, that is not an argument inherent to me. That is, my partner is much more the experiential one. Very, very much like, I would love to go to a restaurant that costs $300. Not consistently, but like, it's just a nice thing to have done. Like, it's an experience. We'll talk about it forever, and we have. But the first time I did that, I was like, oh, okay, I'll do this. I'll capitulate to this. We got the bill, and I damn near had a heart attack. I was like, like flop, sweat, panic, and it's just like, what was happening in that instance was my values don't really contend that this dining experience was valuable. I'm not a particularly experiential kind of person in that kind of way. But being able to see it through his eyes has made me more so of one. And I think, like, you know, that kind of like priming that's occurred over the course of my life, as well as familiarity with Daniel Mullins games, has given me the ability to go and enjoy it as its kind of own experience without then hoping for more after the fact. But I can't say that my heart doesn't leap at the idea of being able to record more Inscryption.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what makes it difficult, right? Because in the end, we're still humans, and we have an ongoing desire that good video game fun. Give me more.
Yeah. I gotta say, like, I'm so glad that everyone actually stuck through their series.
Yeah, trust me, you're telling me. Because your views on that series are way better than my views were. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Because I'm gonna be dead serious. My Inscryption series is one of my worst performing series this year.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like what's the phrasing I'm looking for here? I know the feeling. Darkest Dungeon 2 was one of my worst series this year. It's like, I cannot count the number of people that have told me they're excited for Darkest Dungeon 2, that they can't wait for me to start Darkest Dungeon 2 and things like that. And those people, admittedly, who would have said that are probably watching. But it's a very vocal minority is what's coming to mind in that instance, certainly.
Yeah. If it's any consolation, I did 2 singular episodes of Darkest Dungeon 2 before I shelved the series because, one, the views were lower than the Inscryption series, and 2, I thought it was horrible. But maybe that's a conversation for future draft games.
You know, I think I have things to say on that. I lauded a lot about the game design as I was playing it initially, and then they changed the stress thresholds for ability to use stress heals. And they changed it such that only if you had 5 or above stress could you stress heal any character with any of the abilities in the game. Which made it so that because people can get negative stress interactions with one another and have negative relationships exclusively like above 4 stress, it meant that characters would just skate on 4 stress the entire time and have a bunch of negative interactions with one another and you death spiral. And at the same time as they did that, they also made the end boss significantly harder. They nerfed a lot of the characters. And I, like, combined with the fact that the series wasn't doing particularly well, this is actually the most candid I've been about this, but combined with the fact the series wasn't doing particularly well, and those changes, I haven't played Darkest Dungeon since. And I don't know when I'm next going to check in with it.
Yeah.
It's hard, you know?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. I will say my experience was extremely different from yours because you just said a lot of words. I really had no idea what the hell any of them meant because I never even saw a singular boss in the game. I played it for a total of about an hour and a half before I gave up on it. Because it felt like I was playing an RNG simulator that there was quite literally no strategy to it whatsoever, and the game was just going to do whatever the hell it wanted to me no matter what. But that also could have been a me problem. I will say.
The thing is so like I tend to think back to the development experience of Darkest Dungeon 1 as well. And that is something that was levied at Darkest Dungeon 1 at a lot of times. And it feels like when the balance for this kind of game is off, it can just feel like it's, you know, a lottery, a slot machine that you're rolling, right? And not always disguised. And that's how roguelikes can feel. And it's lobbied consistently at Darkest Dungeon. But I think that might just be kind of it being in its infancy. Like they're trying to make it.
Yeah. And that's what I eventually, I kind of came to where, you know, I did not play I've never played Darkest Dungeon 1 in my life. So I went into Darkest Dungeon 2 not having any of the experiences from Darkest Dungeon 1 to kind of fuel me along and give me any understanding of going into Darkest Dungeon 2, which I've heard is not necessarily needed for the game, but a lot of people were also like, it wouldn't hurt, right? Like there are some, you know, terminology and mechanics and things that are still useful in Darkest Dungeon 2 from Darkest Dungeon 1.
It can also hurt though. Because there are things that are used in both games that work differently in each game.
I have heard that as well. And I will tell you so, and I talked to Rito a little bit about it because I kind of brought up that I was like, you know, hey, I think this game kind of sucks, and it was when he was like hardcore playing it for a little bit. So he kind of, you know, wanted to get my opinion of what I thought was bad, and then he kind of, you know, provided some explanations as to whether or not what I was seeing was actually accurate to the game, or if it was just, you know, I guess, frustration piece, or if it was a coincidence, or if it was just, you know, yeah, you straight up got terrible luck kind of thing. And that happens in Darkest Dungeon, and I completely understand that. But the mechanic that, like, basically sent me to never want to play the game ever again was the death door mechanic on enemies.
Oh.
That was miserable for me, because I would, you know, coming from someone who has played a lot of Slay the Spire, and with other, you know, deck building roguelite games, I'm all about the math, right? I like to calculate, hey, if this hits for this much, and this hits for this much, and this hits for this much, I kill you, and I have it good. So I played Darkest Dungeon like that, and it was, you know, you're going to hit between 2 and 4, you're going to hit between 5 and 6, you're going to hit between 1 and 3, and, you know, if you all hit at your minimum, then this guy has, you know, 3 health, I kill you. And then it was one guy hits, death door. One guy hits, death door. One guy hits, death door. And I go, okay, what's the point? And it felt like I had 2 runs where that happened 24/7. Okay. I was like, it's RNG. And then I was very upset. And then I didn't play the game anymore.
So I think I know what Rita would have explained to you, which is that the system is slanted so that it becomes easier to hit the death's door as you hit death's door triggers.
Yes.
Yeah. The game really could do well to explain that to the person playing, because you know how I knew that?
Yeah. From playing Darkest Dungeon 1?
No, it's not in Darkest Dungeon 1.
And that's what I also
Butcher's
heard.
Circus.
Oh, that's pretty bad. Okay.
Yeah, the PvP expansion that no one played. Except for us, and we really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Well, that's good, at least. But no, and then I also, I ran into a fight in my second episode that, it was one of the ones that was like, it was so laughable that I couldn't help but be like, this is funnily bad. It was the character I named after you. It was.
Oh, Aubrey.
I actually managed to just get. Oh no, I'm 1 curse away. Never mind. But I named her after you, and she was the one that had the dual dagger type thing. I don't remember what that. Aubrey, was that her name?
Yeah, Aubrey, the grave digger, grave robber.
Yeah, that was Rhapsody for my playthrough.
I appreciate it. That is actually probably the one that would represent me the best.
I agreed, which is why I did it. I'm glad that you feel the same way. That like vindicates my decision making. But there was a fight against a cannon, and it was just her versus the cannon. But I was so weakened that I couldn't really do any damage to the cannon. And then between turns, I would just pop, because the cannon took like a turn to prep itself. So I would pop her absinthe during the prep phase, and then it would hit me with the cannon. It would death door me. I would get up, I would hit the cannon for like 1 damage, absinthe, it would death door me. I did this, no lie, for about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And I just never died. And I was like, what is this game right now? And everybody else in my party was already dead. Like, they had all died. So it was just you versus the cannon. And I mean, I was laughing my ass off because it was one of the funniest things I've ever done. But I was like, something don't seem right here. And I kind of just chalked it up to, you know what, it's still an early access game. And maybe I'll come back to it in the future, and I'll see if my opinion changes once there's kind of a fleshed out, you know, because they're very good at listening to feedback, and they're a successful dev team. I'm not knocking the Darkest Dungeon guys in any way. I know that game probably already is a huge success to a lot of people, but will be a huge success moving forward.
Yeah. They've been through this before as well. Like, you know, Darkest Dungeon 1 at various points in its timeline was quite, like, almost like abandoned by sections of its own community because like, nope, we disagree with the design decision going on here. Yeah. I will say though, part of the play pattern that I had in Darkest Dungeon 1 was very based around kind of, you know, scumming out fights for recovery and things like this, and was based around that because I wanted to play on the highest level of difficulty, and at the highest level of difficulty you had to do those kind of recovery things.
Yeah.
And they clearly they could make it no clearer in Darkest Dungeon 2 that they intend for the player not to stall. Please stop stalling, don't do that anymore. We don't want that to be part of the gameplay loop of this game. However, it's a really fine line to ride because it's also really, really difficult to balance it so that they can be difficult without having any value in taking extra time to recover.
Yeah.
Like it was necessary. The first game may have trained a lot of people to play the second game wrong, and I felt like I learned the second game, and then as soon as they changed that element of recovery that I still had, the stress recovery, I was like, I actually don't know this game anymore. And I'm excited to see what it becomes, but it's not what it is right now.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just repeating what you say, but like as verbose as I can, losing train halfway through and then trying to pick it back up. So welcome back to Slay the Spire
like,
Draft Champions.
Yeah, I was gonna say you just described like my entire brain while playing this series. But no, I mean I'm happy to hear that even though we had two very different experiences with the game, in the end our opinion remains the same of let it cook in the oven a little more.
Yeah. Let that bad boy bake. I mean, I don't have to check in on every game while it's in early access, and in fact, especially checking in with games that are in early access, are released, and then also games that have had updates or mods released. It's you end up with just too many. So yeah,
it's too many.
It can wait.
I feel bad recently, and
what's that?
We'll see what your opinion is, because it's something that I have definitely noticed, and I feel like you and I'm just gonna say it. Okay, I'm gonna say it. This is we're like an hour and 20 minutes into the video, so I'm allowed to drop these random truth nuggets that like 5 people will hear. In terms of opinions on life, I think you and I line up like really closely in terms of people in the Wholesomeverse.
I'd say so, yeah.
As like we tend to have very similar opinions when it comes to anything not involving cooked poultry, right? Like,
and that's because you have taste. Like, I understand that.
Exactly. There has been, in my opinion, a huge movement in the gaming community recently that is, let's not finish a product for a game. Instead, I am going to make a really, really, really fleshed out demo, try to get a lot of attention on this fleshed out demo, and then never finish my game. Or let me rephrase to bring it even one step spicier and one step deeper. Here is the demo for my game that is on Kickstarter.
Yes. Okay.
You also noticed that this has been happening like a lot recently.
Yeah, I wasn't following you until you mentioned Kickstarter, and I was like, oh yeah, the games that are like, yeah, download our demo on Kickstarter. It's like,
yep. Yeah.
Ooh.
And it's like I get so many emails that are like, you know, they start off, they say all the things right. You know, they go, hi, Tyler. And I'm like, oh, crap, it's not a spam. I got to read this one.
Yeah.
Hi, Tyler. We love your channel. We really loved your series on Inscryption, even though nobody watched it. We, you know, saw your Darkest Dungeon 2 videos, but we're not going to comment on them because we disagree with your opinion, stuff like that. And then they get into, you know, this is a deck building roguelite that, you know, utilizes a never before seen mechanic. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in. You know, I'm getting closer. And then they're like, we're ready to give you the game early so you can have it before everybody else. I'm like, sick, awesome, very good. And then they're like, here's the Kickstarter link and it's the demo. And I'm like, all right, I'll see you in 2.5 years when your game is finished, the Kickstarter is over, and if I still know your name by then congratulations, you've done good marketing. Like, it's just I don't know if it's just I don't have the patience right now. Like, and patience is probably the wrong word. I don't know if it's I don't have the time to care. Like, there's too many games that your Kickstarter is just, it ain't high enough on my list. Or if it's just like every single one of them feels like a scam to me. And I've been scammed enough at this point. I don't need another one.
Yeah, exactly. All full up on those. I will say, like, a large amount of my hesitance would come out of the fact that it feels like the project is not necessarily even going to be complete. But if you are playing it as a demo with the inherent understanding that you are playing the Kickstarter demo on Kickstarter, you are almost in a way kind of endorsing the product by covering it and going like, whoa, this is a promising kind of thing, something I might like to check out in the future. And if it doesn't end up coming to fruition in any way, oh, that doesn't feel particularly good as a creator.
It does not.
It feels a bit duplicitous. I will say also, though, sometimes these games have already been, like, kind of underwritten by a publisher. Like, we will finance it, but also do a Kickstarter as your promotional campaign. So there is a element in the other side of the industry that is making this happen more consistently as well. And a lot of the time you'll end up with like games that, you know, on Kickstarter need $50,000, and it's because they need $50,000 worth of people invested in the project talking about it for word of mouth. Really, the extra $250,000 or the extra $500,000 or whatever has come from another publisher that they already have a deal with.
Yeah, and I think it's important for me to note here that as a whole, I ain't against Kickstarter at all. I think Kickstarter is a really... It's gotten a little worse in recent times, but overall, I think it's actually a really good tool for kind of, especially self-publishing, kind of creators to publish their work and get adequate pay for it to actually produce a product. Especially, you know, I tend to lean more towards board games for it.
Yeah, I've got some great board games off of it.
Yeah, it's just, and board games are expensive. Like they are a pain in the ass to produce and make. So I get it. Like you need legitimate funding to do that. And I'm not saying you don't need funding for video games either. But sometimes I look at some of the games and I'm like, okay, you don't need $200,000 to produce this. Like, it just breaks me a little bit. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those things that is it's a trend, and I don't know if it's a trend that I necessarily like the direction that trend is going, but it's a trend that I've noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I see that as consistently. The project that is asking for more than it seems like it needs. Although, you know, I do find myself consistently sympathetic to the cost of these things to produce is probably significantly higher than even the highest ballpark I would imagine.
I would agree.
But yeah, I guess I also haven't seen the games individual that you are talking about, and you could be talking about a game that's like, yeah, like... Oh, you know what? I'll use an example of this game, although I think this is a neat game. The game's name is Roll. It went through the Wholesome Verse relatively recently.
Oh, absolutely, dude. Yep.
Yeah, but if you saw a Kickstarter for that was asking for like, you know, $500,000...
Yeah, I would be like, come on, man, what you doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too over the board to say.
No, I would agree completely. And I've spent many a time conversing with the Roll dev, and I will tell you, the Roll dev would feel exactly the same way as what we are saying right now. So I don't feel bad using Roll as a topic here in the slightest. But
I'm glad. I did not mean to make a negative example of it. I'm glad it wouldn't be taken that way.
No, and I, dude, the role dev is actually a very good guy as well. Very.
Oh yeah,
very
no,
good lad.
I saw the initial email and I was like, yep. You can pick. You can pick him. It's
genuinely, yeah, the kindest email we've ever got.
It is kind of insane when you read an email that is like, not even just tailored towards you, but clearly coming across in like a familiar fashion that doesn't feel off-putting.
Yep.
And it's just like, man, this is better than so much.
Yep.
Like this is better than a review of the game. This is so much more appreciated and gonna make me look at it, even if I don't end up covering it necessarily at the moment.
Yeah. No, I always kind of tell whenever because I'll have random developers that'll join like my Discord server. Right?
Yeah.
And they'll, sometimes you get the ones that come in and they're like, "Hi, love your channel." I'm like, "Thanks." And then they don't say anything for like a month, and then eventually I see them talking in general chat and they're just promoting the game that they're making, and I'm like, okay, I understand why you joined my server, and I would prefer that you possibly left at this point, but that's fine. But some developers end up just becoming nice members of the community, or they're people that originally were in the community and then took up game development as a hobby kind of thing. So they learn over time, by being in a creator zone, they learn what to do for a creator from that perspective. And I always kind of tell developers like this, just if you make it even the slightest bit personal, there's like a 99% chance that I'm going to, one, read the email and probably play it, even if it looks like garbage. It's like, I take very kindly, and it's a stupid thing, but if you start the email with, "Hey Tyler," I'm like, I'm in, I'm reading.
Yep. You have understood the assignment.
Yeah, it's like if you know me enough to know what my name is, then clearly, like, I am not part of a mass distribution right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it says, "Hey, YouTuber, really loved your series live on Twitch right now," then I'm like, okay, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, exactly. And that is the crux of it, right? It's whether or not it's like a mass distribution that's kind of occurring. What you don't want to do is like see a profile in Discord and you look at like messages sent by, and then it sorts the date, and it's like you've got 10 messages from this person sent in the server. One of them is a year ago and it says hello, and then 9 of them are bumps about a game that no one has responded to in meta chat or things like that.
Yeah.
It's like, and
it's rough.
I think it's also worth noting, like, it's fine if you don't do that as well. Like, if that's not the way that you can interact, then don't have that be part of your marketing.
I agree.
I would feel incredibly awkward trying to approach people and trying to come at it from a direction of like, well, I need to figure out something about this person so that I can demonstrate genuine connection with this person. Like, I wouldn't be able to do that. But that's why I wouldn't be in games marketing.
Yeah. No, I agree pretty wholeheartedly. Hey Raps, where are you on your run?
I'm fighting the Nemesis. I'll be honest, I have not focused at all on my score. I could easily have 0. I could be dead. I don't know.
I had a really rough start. Like, I don't think I flawless anything through floor 2. But I think I've maybe flawless everything on floor 3, and I'm fighting Donu and Deca right now.
Okay.
So just to kind of keep us on pace here. I did tease that I had a really spicy question to ask you. And it's mainly just it's more of a curiosities thing, because your brain works in my brain's kind of way, where you can come up with an answer that I want to know about. So here we go. Okay. would happen if we all woke up tomorrow and we were all sentient piles of liquid?
What would happen if we all woke up tomorrow and we were all sentient piles of liquid? Well,
So I'm talking like you get out of bed.
yeah.
Well, you wake up and then you realize that you're basically the sheet because you've just wet the sheet.
Yeah, because I was about to ask, what's my surface tension, right? Am I now the mattress? Like, also, is my consciousness distributed across the atoms that would constitute my liquid form? Or are we going cartoon logic and I've seeped into the mattress, now the mattress has my face? The fundamentals are important.
To be honest with you, I actually wholeheartedly agree with you. They are extraordinarily important for this exact situation. Let's imply that your liquid is, if it is room temperature, then you are Jello. You are a blue raspberry Jello.
Okay.
But if you are in the heat, you turn to pure liquid.
So instantly,
and as the wait.
No.
As the liquid, you can put yourself, or in Jello form, you can put yourself into a glass, and then you can move as the glass outside.
So instantly, all contact sports are gone, right? Because if you're doing it in your glass, you're fragile. If you're doing it outside of your glass, you immediately become one being.
What if it's a plastic glass?
A plastic? Whoa, okay. You're right.
Is basketball back on the table?
So I'm also imagining that we have humanoid features. You know, your digits extend. You've
Sure,
limbs
yeah.
and such. Okay, so yeah, you can continue with your basketball. The only thing is, you know, as you heat up, you are not only going to sweat, but also become liquid yourself. So what are we gonna have, like, you know, the rounds for sport are now gonna be 2.5 minutes on the field and then take a 30-minute break? Like, also, it's worth noting, like, there are large swaths of the earth where people will evaporate into the fucking sun.
It's actually so true, especially if everybody turns into blue raspberry Jello.
Yeah.
Imagine like Ethiopia and it just starts raining blue raspberry.
Exactly. Say goodbye to anyone you know that lives between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer.
It's like cloudy with a chance of meatballs, except it's like cloudy with a, oh damn, there's Jello in the sky. Like, it would be a mess.
Cloudy with a chance of being slapped by a giant ball of Jello. That would hurt as well.
I would imagine that you could get a little bit of, I'm not sure the word I was about to say friction, but I'm not sure that's the word I want to use. Although I suppose if you're driving down the street and there's a thin layer of Jello, friction's out the damn window. That's gonna be a mess.
Oh yeah. We have to worry about, you know, anyone getting road rash, any car crashes. I will say jelly wrestling is going to get a hell of a lot better.
I would agree wholeheartedly.
And I've been waiting for
thinking
development
about the
in that
glasses
sport.
driving cars.
Sorry?
The glasses driving cars, man. How's that gonna work? Transportation just went out a window.
It did. I feel like we are going to have to
everywhere.
redesign transportation around kind of like a fish tank model. So I'm thinking a fish tank with wheels. It kind of looks like Homer's car, Homer's design of a car, effectively, right? You could make that an enclosed space, fill that with oh, I guess, you know, can we still interact with other liquids in a standard fashion? Do we, can we breathe the oxygen in? Do we osmose? Do we still eat?
Here's the truest question though. Do you think how would they change the sex education class when you take the two cups, one that has food coloring, one that doesn't, and you pour them together to see that this sexually transmitted disease is spread? How would you do that if you're all liquid?
I gotta say,
Plus, I suppose the better question is how would the two glasses of liquid actually mate? But
That I won't even attempt to address.
Okay.
You can contend with that one.
Okay.
Sex education for us was not taught in that way of pouring. Like, was that so that the science teacher could teach it and try and give an interactive demonstration in some way?
I'm gonna be real, man. I am like 90% sure we have had this exact conversation in the past.
Yes. I don't need to tell you how it's taught in Australia, or you tell me how it's not taught there.
Yeah, exactly. The sex education is just, it doesn't exist here. It's mainly just like, don't do it.
Yep.
Have fun not doing it. But yes, I do like the idea of the science teacher doing it though. But teaching it in a way where they never actually talk about sex. They just are like, when a mommy liquid and a daddy liquid with some food coloring love each other very much, they mix together, and then you can watch while they spread the STD to everybody else in the class.
When
I'm
mommy
not
and daddy,
realizing there's some really weird implications that are going on with this.
yeah, when mommy and daddy love each other very much, they get a Mr. Skeet subscription for $13.79 USD monthly if they're smart. And then they load it up and they tell the computer that they're over 18 and a child happens. I know that there was a PDHPE teacher, like a health sciences teacher, a gym teacher, I think y'all would call him. That had something exactly like that he was doing in areas where you weren't able to teach about sexual education. Was like, well, here's your sock. Now you gotta grip the top of your sock, leave a little bit of room in the top of your sock for your toes, and then slide the sock over the foot and roll it down. You know, exactly, clearly doing the demonstration you might imagine.
Yes. Putting your sock. Glad
Sorry, the game may have spoken over you there. What was your?
I'm gonna just not even bother to say it again.
Damn.
I'm gonna be honest. My run is done, by the way.
Oh, great. Well, you've a long time to wait on mine. I'm still on the Reptomancer. I stop when we talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I try not to, but I've forgotten how to I've forgotten how to walk and talk at the same time.
Dude, is not easy. This series as a whole, because I mean, look, we're both banter-rich individuals when it comes to YouTube content. So I would put us, you know, in the upper echelon in terms of being able to walk and talk in that kind of way. Slay the Spire breaks me though.
Yeah.
Like this always uses like 95% of the available RAM in my brain in order to keep the conversation flowing, which is why sometimes you get 5 straight minutes of gelatin raining from the sky, because my brain's like, yeah, just keep farming that one. That one's gonna hit eventually. People are gonna love it.
Look, I dig down on a joke so consistently. You have to sometimes.
I keep on telling. Anna and I are currently we're watching the old Spider-Man movies with Tobey Maguire. Good. Because, you know, with the new Spider-Man movie coming out, and you know, some of the conversation around that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man will be returning to make a appearance with all of the other multiverse villains arriving. Anna had never seen the movies, so I went, okay, marking down 10 hours of my December to suffer through these movies again. That said, the first Andrew Garfield Spider-Man I actually think is a good movie, but suffer through the other 8 hours of suffering, because they're all horrible. But there is one thing that those movies, and I do want your opinion on the movies as well, because you did perk up for sure, so I'm sure you have one. But the one thing those movies do insanely well, and I think it's just like an early 2000s thing, that I feel like we don't have anymore, is the beauty of humor in awkward repetition. there are times where they will just make a joke and then they'll just sit on the screen and they'll keep making the joke and the same, the same look on a face, the same words out of a mouth. And I love it, dude. I love humor and repetition. And when you can keep a bit going in a video repeatedly and then like, finally leave it for 5 minutes and then find another thing that references that same bit you just talked about for 20 minutes, I'm like, there's no better feeling on earth. I love humor and repetition. And I feel like as a society, we've moved away from it being funny.
It's weird because I don't know if the example of Spider-Man's previous films is necessarily like an indictment of society's approach towards it at the moment. And the reason I don't think that is because a lot of the time that I can remember that occurring, I only watched the first Andrew Garfield film and I didn't particularly like it actually personally.
That's fair.
So I'm mainly
it's
basing.
Not good, but it's better.
Yeah. I'm mainly basing this off of Tobey Maguire's films. Is they were making it very, very clear that this is an awkward individual. He feels out of place everywhere because he is in between places. He feels pulled far too thin across far too much butter. Like he's bread spread across too much, butter spread across too much bread rather. And they, through every single aspect, like his job, his other job, his studies, and obviously being Spider-Man, his girlfriend, like that is the central conceit of Spider-Man. And it's the thing that I think that that Sam Raimi's Spider-Man films got way more accurate than any of the other ones. He doesn't feel pressed in anything else. He feels like it's going fine. He doesn't really feel divided between different worlds, in my opinion, in any of the other ones, in the way that I ascribe as being a central core, like, character arc for Peter. But I also think that that gives the film the ability to have more of a kind of, like, awkward comedy to it, because it matches the character, and it matches how he would interact with the world. And when it jars, which it does, right? And the thing that's funny about these kinds of things is they do jar. When it jars, that's good. It doesn't feel bad. It doesn't feel discordant. It's like, oh yeah, good. That's exactly how you would be.
And believe it or not, and I think you bring up an interesting point about those movies, because I actually agree with you wholeheartedly. Because so I grew up. This is gonna be a story arc you don't know about me. I grew up. My dad is and was, but is a huge comic book nerd, like massive comic book nerd to the point where like, he was, Marvel figurines up in the apartment when he was dating my mom, down to my mom had a Spider-Man garter at their wedding, like big Marvel nerd. And Spider-Man is his favorite superhero. So growing up, Spider-Man and the X-Men, but mainly Spider-Man. So I grew up, I kind of had a huge indoctrination towards comic book heroes. Now, I never read any of the comics. I just had the heroes that I knew and had, books about like their lineage and, different villains that they fight. And I still remember this like massive 400-page book about all of, Spider-Man characters that have appeared in Spider-Man comics and explaining who they are and all these other things. And so I had an appreciation for Spider-Man as a whole. And for that, it's probably, one of my favorite superheroes, if not my favorite superhero. And I'll preface by saying that I love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think that he portrays a very good rendition of Spider-Man that I found out of the three, he was my favorite. But I also think that the movies don't capture Spider-Man. I think that what Sam Raimi's films do is they capture truly what it is like to be Spider-Man, where this is a like horrifically awkward kid, like horribly awkward, who has a lot of problems at home. He has, you know, school issues. He has money issues. He has, this mental tear between being a hero and not being a hero. And I think that Tom Holland Spider-Man's touch on that a little bit. But I also think, the Tom Holland Spider-Mans came at a really weird time in the cinema world because it was the fight between Disney, Marvel Studios, and Sony to reclaim the rights to Spider-Man. So it was, once they had the rights, they went gung-ho. And his involvement in Civil War, they chose very, very particularly to cut out the origin story for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. And I think that, in some ways, I like that they did, because I really didn't need to see Uncle Ben die for a third time.
Yeah.
But then there's another part of me that's like, there's a lot of history of Spider-Man as a human being and not as a hero that the Tom Holland movies just don't cover. And I'm hoping that, they kind of revitalize how tragic of a hero Spider-Man is in the upcoming film.
Yes.
I worry that they won't. And they'll continue to slap the MCU Band-Aid on everything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I would be over the moon, while I do enjoy the Tom Holland Zendaya relationship, both IRL and in the movies. I would be over the moon if they killed her and Aunt May in this film. And kill off Ned, too. And then, kill Doctor Strange. Kill all of New York and just only have Tom Holland left, with maybe Willem Dafoe next to him. Like, give me the biggest disaster that can happen to just have Spider-Man be miserable. Because in the end, that's what Spider-Man is. He's supposed to be miserable.
So, I agree wholeheartedly through and through. I will also note, I'm not going to watch any more of, I didn't watch Beyond From Home. I'm not going to, I'm done. I've stepped out of the MCU. Bye. So I don't really have, a personal investment on this level. But I will say that, yeah, Spider-Man is classically the underdog. Yep. That is what he is. And he doesn't feel like it when he's wearing Tony Stooks' Iron Dude suit. Iron Dude Zoot suit from back in the 70s. He's wearing it. He's going along to his what Zoot was. Hey, what was the music styling alongside that?
You lost me.
Anyhow,
I heard Zoot and I thought of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. So
right, okay. So we've gone different directions, but I will say he needs this element of being the underdog under the thumb of everyone. It's difficult to do that when you are in a high-tech suit and you do have the support of, either the Sorcerer Supreme or all of the Avengers or literally Earth. It's like, it's difficult as well. You are right. They introduced him in a weird time in the MCU and they needed to immediately use him. They needed to immediately have him be a compelling character of reasonable power against all these people that we've seen evolve over time. And that makes it difficult, right? You have to skip over the humble origins. But they also just took away him being any sort of underdog. He's handsome. He has the relationship that he wants. He has good relationships fundamentally with the rest of the people that he interacts with. He's really clever and he's got a sugar daddy. Take something. It's difficult to make it a local story, which is what I think that the Raimi stories do really well, right? It becomes more local. It is your neighborhood, even if it has implications about the rest of the world as well. But it's difficult to shrink back down to that scope after you've had him fight galactic evils.
Yeah.
How are they going to do it? I don't know. Anyway, I've run to the end of my run.
Very exciting. Do you want honestly, for old time's sake, I will do it. I'll do the score bumping. Are you over 900?
Yes.
Are you over 950?
Yep.
Are you over 975?
I am.
Are you over 980?
years.
Are you over 982?
Yup.
Okay, are you over 1,000? Because I was nowhere in there.
Yes.
Are you over 1,050?
Yes.
Are you over
We're going to keep
1,050?
going for a little bit here.
Okay, then you have won, because I have 1,051 is my score.
Right. 1235. I ended up pulling Beyond Perfect and Highlander because I constructed a pseudo-infinite with a deck at the end.
Oh, I mean, that will do it for sure.
Yeah.
Very
Damn good way to approach it.
Very
hey,
cool.
This takes us to the end of Slay the Spire Draft Champions, of the return.
The reunion.
Hey Alexa, what are you doing on your channel at the moment?
Happy Aleximus, if you've made it this far. I'm playing whatever the hell I want for a month, basically. Bringing back old series, having a good time, and also checking out more Revita. The new update is insanely good. I don't know. Have you jumped into any Revita at all?
Not at all. I've nary clicked a single pixel.
Oh my goodness. You may have to at some point in time click that pixel because I think it would scratch an itch for you that you would enjoy. I do.
I take that recommendation quite highly.
It's some good stuff. But anyway, that's me. Raps, what have you been doing on your end?
Mostly focusing on mental health. So
Which is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's like I feel like I've kind of done your tweet. Like I've accidentally left it for so long that I took more time than intended. Obviously this is a video on the channel. It's the first video that I will have uploaded to the channel for quite a bit. Yeah, I'm just gonna try and match my output to my aptitude. That's all my real plans at the moment. Although, you know, my ears did perk up at that whole Inscryption modding thing, so I might have to check that out. Just look at it at least. See what happens.
There's a lot out there, but I mean, hey, I wish that I had your strength to decide to take the mental health time away. I think that it's one of the most important things that people can do that has gone completely by the wayside, especially in this generation. And it's, I mean, I'm just happy to see that things are going well for you.
Yeah.
And I'm excited to see your return when you feel fit.
I totally agree. I would like to be able at some point in the future to be able to be like, I recognize this is about to start, and like, you know, take some time off intentionally rather than doing it unintentionally and sporadically, you know?
Yeah.
So it's easier to make it just routine. Work that into your schedule somehow, I guess. The moment.
Anyway.
Hopefully y'all have been enjoying yourselves.
You do it better.
Oh,
you do it better. You do it better.
For the moment, y'all. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourselves. That's been Slay the Spire Draft Champions with Olexa and I. You'll find all the links you're looking for in the description down below. Hopefully you've been enjoying yourselves, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.